2022 looks to be a much stronger year overall for game releases. So today, like every year, we're breaking it down into parts. Here are 15 games releasing in the first half of 2022 that we're really looking forward to. Dying Light 2. After so many delays, it seems like they finally got it locked in. And you know the long story short, the reason why we're excited for Dying Light 2 is because we like the original game so much. Not only was it just a good old solid adventure open world game that kind of took the zombie formula and spun it on its head, but it was also supported with a ton of cool post-release content, and it was like the game gift that kept on giving. Now with Dying Light 2, it seems like it's taking that fun core gameplay framework with the parkour and the action and the violence and adding a lot more RPG and story elements to it. You are making decisions on how to help out these micro-civilizations that have cropped up after the viral outbreak. Gran Turismo 7. Yes, Polyphony Digital is working on another one. It's been quite some time. They very much take their time, but it looks like Gran Turismo 7 is continuing the trend of just really upping all the stakes. More cars, crazier graphics, more options, more details overall, more fine-tuning, and we love to see it. Honestly, we're always excited when a PlayStation console gets graced with one of these really awesome games. These are, if you haven't played them, more hardcore simulation-focused. So don't expect a lot of personality and fun and doing crazy jumps. No, this is like hardcore realism, real car stuff. So, while there is a world for arcade racers, we have a blast with stuff like Forza Horizon and all that the Gran Turismo series takes things a bit more seriously. So if you're a hardcore car enthusiast, hopefully it'll be happy with this one. So far, it's looked pretty good. As much as some of the updates sound like small things, it could just make for a really good, fun, gorgeous car game. And you know, that's all we're really looking for. That's releasing as of right now, March 4, 2022. Stalker to Heart of Chernobyl. Now the Stalker series is an absolutely legendary PC series. It's what a lot of PC gamers think of immediately when you think of the early 2000s games and just how it pioneered open world, kind of survival horror resource management stuff in like a fun post-nuclear disaster world. And it seems like they're doing it again, this time with a crazy budget and sick graphics. Recent videos with this thing running in Unreal Engine 5 look absolutely insane. We've seen little glimpses of gameplay with some combat versus human and mystical otherworldly things, including weapon attachments using items. And if this is anything at all like the original Stalkers, it should make for a really tense experience. And now, thankfully, it has the graphics and really the mood and the atmosphere to really fill in the blanks and sell what made the original game so special. There's still time to play the originals if you never have, but we'll know for sure if this one is legit when we play it. Sons of the Forest. This is the long-awaited follow-up to The Forest, which was a survival game with some really hardcore horror elements to it, and just some good stuff. Sons of the Forest, interestingly enough, is hotly anticipated by Forest fans. But we don't know too much about it. It does look to be like a kind of new spin on what the original setup you're once again stranded in. You're using items, you're building shelter, and you're defending yourself from really creepy forest creatures. I actually like that they haven't shown off this game too much. I prefer the kind of lessons more style, especially for a game where you might already be like, yeah, I'll check that out regardless, because they've been so dark for so long and so quiet. I'm hoping that they took the money from the original game and really went hard here and are going to give us something absolutely amazing. You know, that's of course just me armchair speculating, but there's some cool potential, and we'll find out if that release date holds because right now it's set for May 20, 2022. Combat. This is my personal most anticipated pick, just because of how cool it looks. I love games like this, especially from developer Slow Clap. These are the people behind Resolver, which is a pretty intense game with a hand-hand fighting system, and a lot of challenges. This seemingly takes the gameplay framework, the combat system, and applies it to a different real style of game. There seems to be this mechanic, where every time you die, you come back older, but just what they have going on here with the fight scenes. The way you can grapple and counter, like enemies and using objects in the environment, or using the environment itself to win seems so satisfying. If you played Observer, you know that combat system absolutely hits, even if the rest of the game was just kind of boring. The combat system is top tier, so for them to use that again and hopefully expand on it makes me just absolutely bet on this game. Pokémon Legends Arceus. But this is the big one. Folks, if you've been looking for a Pokémon game, where you can run around a big 3D open world and catch Pokémon and battle. Here you go. I mean, granted, they've kind of dabbled with it before, but this is the blown-out crazy one. There has been criticism already for its graphics. For me, I just look at that as kind of like the limitations of the Nintendo Switch. Still, to have a fully 3D Pokémon game on the Switch is pretty exciting. The possibilities are high, especially considering the service is kind of like a prequel story. It's in an older era of the Sinnoh region, and it's actually called something different. It was called the Hisui region. So it's kind of got this weird kind of old-timey Pokémon feel to it. You're still a guy or a girl with a cool hat and a jacket, but there's like a slight ancient vibe to it, and it's really cool. We're gonna be seeing new Pokémon, new trainers, new ways to fight, and most importantly, new ways to explore. There's a lot more going on in this one. If you're a die-hard Pokémon fan, I suggest diving deep because some of the info we do have is pretty cool for how it shakes up the formula other than just its 3D, but thankfully, we won't have to wait too long to really see how it is. As of right now, it's releasing January 28, 2022. Forspoken. Forspoken is the Square Enix action-adventure RPG that obviously looks like a really gorgeous tech demo, but it's starting to reveal itself as a full game. At the time of making this video, a bunch of new gameplay videos have dropped, and it seems interesting. It's still a bit too early to tell, but the concept of you just kind of being a regular girl thrust into this weird fantasy world and using these cool powers, it's kind of almost like Infamous, but like your mage casting magic seems pretty cool. Not to mention the fact that like it just the visual style, the dialogue, the music of the art direction, all of that seems to be top-tier big-budget AAA stuff. We're just hoping that the actual meat of the game, the gameplay, the exploration, and that story can really live up to what on the surface looks pretty cool. Forspoken is releasing on PC and PS5 as of right now. The news reports that it is a 2-year PlayStation exclusive and will be playing the May 24, 2022. Tiny Tina's Wonderland. We talked about this one already quite a bit, since it was just announced a few months ago. Essentially what this is a big blood of previous Borderlands DLCs that played with this whole concept of Tiny Tina, the zany side character doing her own kind of fantasy adventure tabletop game. So here what you have is a new Borderlands game set in a completely different environment with a kind of medieval weird mystical fantasy vibe to it. The weapon types seem totally different. The enemies seem totally different, just the overall flow and loop of the game. And the map seems to be a different and more fantasy RPG-focused editor. It looks like it's gonna be fun. If you're a Borderlands fan, you're probably digging what you're seeing. If you're not a Borderlands fan, that humor might still rub you the wrong way, but props to them for doing something different here. As of right now, Tiny Tina's Wonderlands is releasing March 25, 2022. If you want to see more videos like this, please consider subscribing for more.